In the last video, we talked about slopes of lines, and we talked about how a positive slope was when a line went up as we look from left to right, and negative slope, the line was going down from left to right. But there are also two special cases of lines that don't go up or down as we move from left to right, and those are either horizontal lines like this green one, or vertical lines like the red one. So in this video, we're going to talk about the slope and the equation of horizontal and vertical lines. So if you remember that when we talk about slope, we're talking about rise over run, or change in y over change in x. And all I need to find is 2 points on the line. So why don't we actually try to calculate slope for this horizontal line? I picked two kind of random points on the line. So I've got -3, 2. And then over here, I've got 2, 2. So if I'm finding the change in x over change in y, I could do, again, our formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It's pretty clear that the change in y, there isn't any change in y. It's just going to be 2 minus 2 because I'm not going up or down. But I do have some run, right? So x2 minus x1, it looks like I am traveling a run of 5. So I've got 0 over 5. So my slope would be 0. So we can see that any horizontal line has no rise, and it could have any run. It could have infinite run. So our slope will always be 0 for a horizontal line. So every horizontal line has slope 0. Well, what does an equation look like? Well, remember, our equations are mx plus b, where m is slope and b is the y-intercept. Well, if slope is 0, then it's going to be 0x. And in this case, it's going to be plus 2 because my y-intercept is 0, 2. Now, what is 0 times x? Well, that's just nothing. So my equation of the line would just be y equals 2. So any horizontal line will just have an equation of y equals the y-intercept, which is actually the y-coordinate of any point on the line. So if you're having trouble remembering that, to do a horizontal line equation, it's just going to be, you're asking yourself, well, what's the y-coordinate of every single point on the line? Y is always 2, so my equation is y equals 2. What's nice is that then it's really easy to graph any horizontal line. So if I told you graph the line y equals -3, well, okay, there's no m, so m must be 0. And I can just graph this horizontal line with a y-intercept of -3. So every point on this line goes through a y-coordinate of -3. So the two things you need to know about a horizontal line is their slope is 0 because there's no rise. And the equation will just be y equals some constant. Now we're going to look at vertical lines. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick kind of two random points on the line. So I've got here 5, 2. And I don't know, why don't we pick down here? I've got 5 and -3. And again, why don't we try to calculate the slope, which is going to be the change in y, y2 minus y1, over the run, or the change in x, or x2 minus x1. So we can just plug in our values here. So I've got, let's say, -3 subtract 2 for the change in my y's, and then I've got 5 minus 5 for my change in x. And it kind of makes sense that the 2 points I've picked, there is a change in y, so I've either gone down or up 5, depending how you look at it. But I've got no run. I've got a run of 0. So what is -5 divided by 0? You could try to do that in your calculator and see what it says. Maybe pause the video and take a look. We can't divide by 0. So your calculator is going to give you some kind of error message. We can't divide by 0. We can't calculate the slope of a vertical line. So we say that the slope is undefined. So any vertical line has undefined slope because it would require me to divide by 0, which is something that we can't do in mathematics. So any vertical line has an undefined slope. And when we're writing the equation of a vertical line, I can't write it in y equals mx plus b form because m is undefined. So the way I write the equation of a vertical line is I just say, well, what is the x-coordinate at every point in that line? Well, x is always 5. So my equation would be x equals 5. So every vertical line has an undefined slope, and the equation is just going to be x equal the x-intercept, which is actually the x-coordinate of every point. So for example, if I have the equation x equals -3, well, right away, I know that's a vertical line. and x is always going to be equal 3, -3 at every point in the line. I think I actually drew that at -2, so let's move that over 1. But that's our idea. So our horizontal lines always have a slope of 0 and always have an equation that's of the form y equals some constant. But the vertical line has an undefined slope. M is undefined. There actually is no b, there is no y-intercept. So the equation of my line has to be x equals whatever x is always equal to for that vertical line. So those are kind of the two special cases where we don't write the equations y equals mx plus b, and where the line isn't going up or down as we move from left to right. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.